You have the app.
Somebody probably has gone. Somebody in here. My car.
I don't have to go out because I have.
What? What's there?
See if it works for you.
Messaged me earlier.
So I found this website that allows you to create QR codes for documents.
Okay. Oh, like to email you.
Yeah,
Okay.
but it like can create actions for everything.
Well, that'll be cool.
No, it's like, it just, if it already opens it up, and all you, like, you can do one for sending a text message, then you have to put in your phone.
Yeah.
This is like accidentally, what happens later?
I know, so
Where'd you get it? Did you order it?
His title's fine.
Oh,
you can do it or on, yeah.
yeah, we've got those before, but I need to, I wanna do it for a hydro jug. I think that's the one I want next. I do have like, I have a couple of those like Yeti ones that are just coffee.
I think it's just the whole.
Not like officially, I
They like the text or.
If you want to take one of these and pass it, organize your notes later. Today is going to be like a two-part training. So my role as team leader, I'm going to introduce you to some systems, tools, and resources that you can dig into if you're looking to grow a team or if you have a team. And then at the end, we have some amazing team leaders who are going to come up to the front where they're going to share their real stories on their successes and failures on running their team. And then of course, we'll have opportunity for you to ask questions.
Thank you.
This is just a reminder of who your growth partners are. So I know as our team has grown, there's always been some questions around, well, who does what? The truth of the matter is, when we've had a smaller market segment, the MCA role was able to be all done by one person. So now we've had to break up that role into several people. So I think that's where some of that confusion kind of comes in now that we've grown. Adrienne, our agent services coordinator, she kind of acts as like my second hat. So anything that I can do, Adrienne can pretty much do as well. So Adrienne's been working on learning the growth system so that way she can coach all of our other agents. I typically work with some of our top agents in the office, but she's been training and coaching and working with me so that way she can also dive into those consulting conversations. Then, of course, you also have Matt and Dave. You might be wondering what the letters are. So OP stands for Operating Principal. TL is Team Leader, ASC, Agent Services Coordinator. And Dave, whether he knows it or not, he gets referred to a lot in my coaching conversations with my coach as our silent partner. So SP for Dave, so he wasn't left out in this conversation. But all of us you can talk to about growing your teams and your businesses. Dave actually leads the Rainmaker small group. So if you're in a team of 3 or more people, you get to be a part of that mastermind once a month. So just keep that in mind. You all have seen this book, The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. That QR code is so that way you can either order it physically, Audible, Kindle, whichever your preferred reading method is, but this book is really the path to growing your team. It's going to give you how to grow your database. There's plans in there on what your organizational structure should look like. It sounds kind of cliche, because we talk about this book all the time, but it's one that I recommend that you read every year. Might sound like overkill, but every year you are a different person. You've grown, your team has grown, and you can take in different pieces of this book a little bit differently. Even if you're not in real estate, we've got some photographers in the room. You can definitely apply the principles in this book to grow any business. Now, reading a book alone is not going to help you get to the finish line, although it can definitely be a good start, but there's also then classes that take that book and help you apply them and implement them. So Business Planning Clinic teaches you the various models that are taught in the MREA. And guess what? I have a spreadsheet for that. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel. In the MREA, or the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, it talks about various models, like the economic model, the budget model, the lead gen model. I have all of that in one worksheet. If you scan this QR code, it'll give you a template. You can use this template on your own, or if you go back to that growth partner slide, any one of us can consult you on that worksheet. As your business grows, those numbers and things in that spreadsheet are going to evolve, and that's what we're here for, to help you dissect that information. Traction. This is not a KW book, but this is really the book that's going to help you run the operations side of your business. So MREA is great for that sales perspective, growing your sales business, but this book is going to teach you the systems and the tools to run it at a high level. Raise your hand if you read Traction or you're implementing EOS, which is the system. So you can see there's a good bit of folks in the room that are implementing EOS in its systems. The great thing about your leadership team, not trying to toot our own horn, but I'm going to beep for a second, is we are all using this as well to run your market center. Dave runs it to run all of his business. Drew, is that fair to say? So we not only teach you the tools to use, but we use them. So we're able to consult on non-KW systems. We're going to consult you on systems that we know work. Here's the thing. You don't have to use EOS. There's other operational systems out there. Find the one that works for you and then just use it. The common issue that I see with teams that I'm consulting, mainly outside of our office, because a lot of our teams inside of our office have systems, is they don't know how to run this operations piece. They've got a great touch plan for their team. They know how to generate leads for their team, but they don't know how to manage and lead their team. And I feel like that's where this book really comes in. Any questions? I know I'm talking a lot. I feel like I'm rushing because I was like late after the girls got off to school. I'm like, oh, come on. QR code in the corner if you want to order that one. Throughout the book Traction, it talks about several components of the EOS system. So there's vision, data, which is like your scorecard, processes, traction, which is like really your meetings, pulses, and your rocks that come with that, which you'll learn more about that within the book. I'm not going to dive too deep into that today. How to resolve issues, and then how to make sure that you have the right people in your organization. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. This is a free EOS toolbox. So if you scan that QR code, all the templates you need are in there. Most of them have come from EOS, that company themselves, but we have thrown in a couple other systems or templates in there for you that have worked really well for us. So they talk about them in the book, but there wasn't a PDF to go with it. So we created one for you. Anybody who uses EOS at a high level, do you want to maybe just contribute and talk about one of these components that you use at a high level? I'm not putting everybody on the spot, but
Yeah, I found in the fall going through the vision exercise with our team was really helpful as opposed to saying, hey guys, here are our core values. Hey guys, here's our mission statement. It was a way to actually put some meaning and some meat on that we are a team. I am not your boss. You are not employees. We are building this together. And I found that and that's obviously where you start with EOS. And it gets buy-in to everything else. So obviously, I was leading and guiding and directing that conversation. So just like with the listing presentation, you know, we end up where I wanted to go anyway, in a lot of ways. But like, if you implement beginning from even the vision of what you want the team to be by including the team, there's a lot of power there.
I love that. And that's the one component I'll say, you know, for some of you in this room, you may not have aspirations to grow a team, say, Daycoat team size, and that's okay. But even as an independent agent, that vision, traction, organizer.
Turn your life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Is there anybody in the room that started Traction or has heard of Traction and got intimidated or didn't quite know where to start implementing any of that kind of stuff? Is there anybody in that space?
Oh, we did when we started,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I met with Steve King, who Brittany brought in to talk with us. That was really, really helpful. And there is actually another book called What the Heck is EOS?
Mhm.
And I really struggled probably 6 or 7 years ago. I really struggled with like conceptualizing how I translated the book into our business until I read that book,
Mhm.
until I read What the Heck is EOS? And then it was like, oh, that's what they mean. And then I could go back to Traction. So if you haven't read that and you struggled with it.
No, I love that.
I was just gonna say,
Adding to my read.
It's
any
short,
business wise,
big words.
data,
big-
the scorecards, we met with Steve yesterday, by the way.
Oh, you did?
But this data and the scorecards, are meetings, anything based on numbers and allowing people to own the numbers and bring them in is getting the buy-in that you were mentioning. And it has, our meetings, our weekly meetings have just totally changed. But doing it based on numbers, it's no longer you being the boss and saying, here's what you need to do, here's your team comes up with those numbers together and they own the numbers. So it becomes like a pride and achievement.
Right, it's less feelings and this is the data, you either hit it or you hit Erica. And then
I like the fact that you share with the VTO, like that's the first thing you start with, like any business that you wanna create, start with the VTO. So, and it gives you clarity around that.
yeah, I love that. Shannon, and then Julie, or Julie, that's Shannon. You were good. Sorry.
And so along the VTO, if you read the book Traction, one of the things that it says, like I did the VTO last year. And with my team, and we picked out all the should values. And then we realized that we weren't living up to some of those. And there were other values like timeliness, responsiveness is actually super, super high on my to-do list. That's one of the things that we think separates us from some of our competitors. And so the way I figured that out is it says, look at the people that you kind of see as the models, not necessarily within your own organization, but just in general. Who are the people that you would like to emulate? And what are some of the things that they exhibit? And that's when I went, oh, our values are, yes, they're all those things, but there's some other things that are maybe higher priority for us. And we needed to recalibrate that. And so we had a nice team meeting talking about that. And that also turned out to be where I had friction sometimes with some of my team members, because they didn't understand what responsiveness meant to me as you dealt with clients that I gave to you. So that was a really good way for us to flush a lot of that out, and it's been a game changer.
I love that. And I like too that you're admitting, like, you can change them.
Oh, yeah.
Like, sometimes the VTO, I think, intimidates people because they feel like we're chiseling this data in gold and stone. And it's like, no, you change, you evolve, you learn.
And we didn't have to put integrity as one of our values because we all inherently said, well, that's just automatically who we believe we are. So we didn't have to use that as this, we're like, okay, what is something that we need to remind ourselves daily is important to our clients, our constituents. And so it was really good learning. So thank you. And I got that after that EOS, like.
The class.
Workshop thing that we did, yeah.
Yeah.
Super.
So, every year I have a word, and my words, I built off the one before, and my word for the year is always very, very thoughtful. I could spend 6-7 weeks as to why and what I'm planning on doing, so it's not an easy task. And so this year it's intentional. I built off of the last 3, words that I had, and so when we did the workshop, I got this book, and that was the book that, I got, because I don't know, participate, so I got about, and it says dare to build an intentional culture. So, and I tab everything, I'm a book reader because I like to go back, and so I tab what I think is important and I highlight, but if I think of something, like I said to you, I can go and say, oh yeah, right here. But this was really a good read, which is EOS as well, and it's really like, people in your culture, and if they need to understand you, and you need to understand them, and it's okay if they're not a fit, and, oh, yeah. It's a great book, so I just finished this one, but, yeah, oh, yeah. It's all
People dare to build the intentional.
Dare
That's
to
what
build
I
the
think
intentional culture, and I thought that was great, because that's my word this year, is intentional.
Mhm.
Like, not just to do anything or change anything about it, and make sure no matter what our actions are, that they're intentional.
And I love that. And I think that's like the piece that MREA was kind of missing a little bit. Like MREA is like, these are the systems and this is the math, and like
Right.
you do these things and you'll be successful.
Right.
But humans are involved.
Right.
And that's where EOS comes in, is it helps you lead
MREA is real estate specific. This
Right.
could be
any business.
And what is success? Your
Life
success
specific,
is defined different than my success, defined different than her success.
100%.
And that's what this helps with, is whose success are we talking about, and how do you define success?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you for bringing that up, Adrian.
I think for me, one of the best components that we've taken from EOS is the idea of the issues list. Because it takes away those got a minute interruptions that when you're working together as a team can happen, like, and then before you know it, your entire day is spent on I need this, I need that. What do you think about this? What do you think about that? Having one central location where as a team, we can put all of our things, right?
Don't forget.
So we don't forget, and yet I'm not knocking on your door or Caleb's door or anybody else's door every time a thought comes into my brain.
Constant emails, text messages.
It gives us one central location, and then during our weekly L10 meetings, we just knock that list. Huge.
So that's an issues list, right? Like
Yes.
something that, okay, because then what we did the opposite, because I'm IT and I come in, hey, great idea, and then all of a sudden I totally right off task, and like you said, same thing. So we have a dump, it's our brain dump. So anybody has an idea, just go on there and brain dump, and then on our Monday meeting, then we go through, and then she'll say, what was that? And I'll say, oh, you know what, I don't even remember, it's probably not important, make it go away. Or,
It sounds like what we do.
5 minutes, yeah. Yeah, we do 5 minutes, and let's see if this is a good idea, if we want to see if it, gains any traction. So we do that as well, because I will disturb everybody.
Yeah, an issue, we should clarify, it doesn't have to be a problem. We also call it just, it's an item to discuss. Like it could be a creative thought, it could be a problem, it could be, hey, we have this class coming up and I just needed some extra collaboration around it. Yeah, it's all of that. Yeah. I love that. Good conversation around this. Another book, I promise I'm gonna get off the book. I promise. But as your team leader, what I have found is if I tell you to do something, you go. But then when I tell you, okay, read the book, Shanice, you could attest to it. I'm like, Shanice, just read the book, trust me, read it. She finally reads it. She's like, I get it. So these books are like my partners. And they just help solidify that, yes, the advice I'm giving you is solid, I promise. But if you're struggling with the idea of hiring someone to help you, and not even just in your business, this could be in your personal life. This is the book that really, for some reason, the way that Dan Martell explained it, it clicked for me. Like, wow, Brittany, your time is precious, it's worth. We were able to put a number to it.
stop doing activities that you could pay someone else to do for $25 an hour or less. But this was the book for me that really helped that light bulb go off. So if you're struggling with that thought of like, no, I have to control everything, I have to be the one to do all the things, this is the one that helps you get over that hurdle. Anybody read this one? Ben, jeez. This is one I will say, what's that?
Were you able to let go?
Oh, yeah, it's like very relatable.
Yeah, tell me more, dig into that, what can you share?
I think it's almost like, it's less instructional and more emotional. So it's more letting go of some stuff, like, my favorite is, 80% done is 100% awesome.
Yeah.
So letting go of, done is better than perfect, that type of situation, so, and you can kind of see how he kind of tells a story in the whole book on how it really let him let go of other areas of his life, so.
No, I love that. And I also liked how, if you do the Audible version, and I'm actually more of a physical book reader, but I happened to do this one on Audible. At the end of every chapter, he thinks about all the questions that you would probably have. And then it's almost like this Q&A podcast style. And it was the coolest, like, Audible I've ever read, because I felt like I got so much out of that. So I'm like, yes, Dan, I was thinking that, like, thank you.
And it's not just about hiring other people, it's about hacking your time, like
Yeah.
batch working stuff, like if you're gonna do a podcast, schedule 2 podcasts, or if you're gonna do certain things,
Yeah.
kind of like batch work, a little bit more than just hiring people, although that's the premise.
Yeah, the premise is hiring, but he even talked about like the best way to train people. Like one of those hacks was like, you don't have to type every process out, like just do a Zoom screen share and self-record and just record while you're doing the whole task. And now you've got a training video for the next person that eventually takes that task. Like he really makes it, wow, it's just that simple. Where I think we often overcomplicate it.
He has there's a really good chapter about when you're training someone to do something, you tell them exactly what to do, they get nothing out of it. And I forget what he called it, it's like basically giving them the parameters and letting them come up with it. And his rule is like a 10-80-10. We'll come up with 10% of the idea, I'll let you do 80% of it, and then I'll come back in for the last.
What is it, like authorship is ownership?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like if you
What did you
are,
say, 80% good is 100% awesome?
Yeah,
80% good is 100% awesome.
or no, sorry, 80% done.
Done.
So like essentially, if you could do it at 100%, but if you have somebody to do it that does it at 80%, it's kind of like letting go of the idea of perfection.
Yeah.
Which is hard for most of us in this room, because we're handing off clients that we've worked really hard to obtain. And so handing that off to a buyer's agent or a showing agent, I understand why that can feel scary. And then sometimes he did say, like, sometimes you do find people that do it better than you, like you thought you were doing it at 100, but really you were doing it at like 70. And you just found the person that could take it to the next level for you, and that's like that fuel for you as you move on or grow. But this was the book for me that like helped me understand that. Especially because in KW, we want you to do this, we want you to lead with revenue. But that conversation, I almost took it so literal that it stifled my ability to want to make hires. But then I was like, well, no, if we could allocate time and money into this human, and then we get this much time back, and this time is spent here, now the company can grow. This was the book that just really helped me think through that process. We're finally out of books. The 2 classes that you should 110% take if you are looking to hire is career visioning. And then there's a second part of this course that I have to be honest has not come around often. So we're gonna try to fix that, but it's success through others and 30, 60, 90. So together you might see them advertised as the leverage series. So if you see that, just know it's both of these classes in one. Normally day 1 is career visioning, day 2 is this class, success through others in 30, 60, 90. Career visioning, I think is a horrible title. It should just be called how to hire an admin or how to hire people for your team. The process in which they go through to ensure or attempt to make sure that they're a good hire is called career visioning. So that class will teach you how to recruit talent, how to hire talent. It's all about hiring slow, firing fast. It is not bulletproof. So that's my disclosure. There is no 100% method on how to make great hires. But this process helps you slow down in hopes that you see some of the red flags that maybe if you went really fast because you're desperate and you want to fill the seat. This helps you slow down so you can see those areas. But I just want you to know, like, if you make a hire and the first one doesn't work out, totally normal. If you hire the second and third person and it doesn't work out, totally normal. I think this is probably the hardest part because we're all humans. And humans know how to interview. I think most of the time people are within integrity in that they answer questions thinking that they're answering about who they are, but oftentimes they're really answering about who they want to be, and they don't even realize it. So I'm not trying to scare you, but I do want to normalize that, like, this is a difficult process, probably the one that, you know, I struggle with the most. And that's why anytime career visioning comes around, I take it. I like that I've been able to take it with different instructors because they don't just teach the process. They share their own stories and they just make it really real. Yeah, I would say, Drew, I know you make a lot of hires. Like, would you say like hiring is
hiring process.
yeah, well, I just mean like it's hard. Yeah. And you're never gonna get it 100% right all the time. So hire slow, fire fast. These are the classes. 30, 60, 90 helps you go through their first 100 days. So when you make a hire, it's not forever. It's 30 days at a time. And then you've got those benchmarks and you're clear with that hire. That one where we hit these benchmarks, we're gonna have a conversation and have a temperature check on how is it going. So this gives you permission to understand that you're only hiring for 30 days at a time. You're not making a lifelong commitment, you're not getting married. So you can't let them go. Yeah, any thoughts around this?
Yeah,
Let you.
yeah.
100%. 100%. Sometimes it's a good thing. Sometimes it's sad. It does happen. But you will also learn great ways on how to retain them in these classes, how you can just be a better leader so that way you're pouring into them and it makes them want to stay. But I would highly recommend taking this if you're thinking about even just hiring an admin, like take it once a year. Because again, you change, your business changes, and you do pick up different nuggets every time. Do you like your thoughts?
I think probably the last time that I took it, they really helped me understand the traits for the position that you're hiring in. And if anybody's ever seen this in like the continuum of where your candidate falls on them and how that will show up in their job, right? So, for example, if the optimism trait is super, super high, right? Mine is super high. What that actually means is that it might be so high that you don't question enough things to find the things that will go wrong and you don't plan for them, right? That's just one example. And the last time I took it, that was the biggest thing that I got out of it was learning about each of those traits and what they mean and how they show up for the people that you're interviewing.
I love that. Yeah, that's a tough one to fully understand sometimes until you've gone through it. Like until you've had the hire, you go, oh, that's what that means.
Yeah.
Like,
I think even if you don't plan to hire anybody, that's a great class because you get like transformational leadership training where or like emotion training where it will help you in listening presentations and dealing with just people in general, like was it Mark Welch that did?
yes.
Yeah, that's one was amazing.
Yeah, and I think that's going through your KPA, that's also
Right.
will help
and
align with
That's a
that.
great point. Thank you.
Yeah.
The career visioning process starts with taking a test, and that's the Keller personality assessment. most of you in this room took a form of that. There's a short form and a long form, but most of you have actually taken it. It's a part of onboarding. Your leadership team will go through the career visioning process with you. It's a 4-part interview process because it's like therapy. Like you learn so much about yourself and it does help you be aware in those listing presentations and those buyer presentations, or just honestly, just how you show up for yourself in your business. You can order a KP at that QR code if you want to order it for someone else to take or for yourself. But we would be happy to go through that. I do versions of it with my leadership team every year, because it helps me get a temperature check on where their goals are in the future, because again, all things can change and I want to make sure I'm aware. But yeah, it's a great therapeutic process, I think.
And I'm gonna add with the career visioning, every time when you just said the forward process, like Julie, we were just talking about when she got hired years ago and she'd get in the car and her husband go, how'd it go? And she goes, I don't know, because he wants to see me again. And like, we always joke about it, right, through the 5 process, but hey, she's my first hire and 8 years later, she's still here. But every time we, as a team, have hired and skipped one of those, whether it's because it was somebody that was already in the business, it's always came back to bite us. It did not work. It did not work. So my advice is do not skip a single step, no matter who you're interviewing. I just interviewed my daughter-in-law last year. It took me 5 weeks after I was finished to decide whether I was gonna bring her on. And just like, we better make a decision here before our family falls apart. But I had to go back and, because it's time consuming when you bring somebody on and it doesn't work, but you can always go back and go, what did we miss? Especially the timeline. If you skip the timeline, you might as well just forget it.
Well, and sometimes the pause in between the interviews.
Yeah.
Helps them realize it's not for them.
Right.
Like they're so excited about the opportunity. I had this happen, and finally, like they had a little bit of space in between the interviews because of my schedule and their schedule. And I knew, I was like, crap, I need to like explain to them that this role is probably not a good fit for them. So our next meeting, I think I coached with Matt and I was like, okay, how do I have this conversation? And they just showed up like, Britt, I love you. Thank you for doing this. But and I realized like, this isn't for me. I was like, oh, bullet dodged. But it's not just about you making sure they're a right fit for you. The process helps them understand and acknowledge if you're a right fit for them.
Exactly.
So take that. I will make it a mission to try to get 30, 60, 90 closer to us. Because personally, I haven't been able to take that one either. These are just a couple other helpful courses. I mentioned Business Planning Clinic already, but that one's really helpful. Quantum Leap. Ben, this is the one you mentioned in your How I Grew series. That just, you learn a lot about yourself. And when that self-awareness helps you know where you want to go. Family reunion and mega camp are also great places for you to learn about team building and systems. It also helps you get in proximity with other amazing leaders so that way you can learn directly from them. The pictures are absolutely there for FOMO. So just know that those are also great places if you're looking to grow to attend. There are a lot of Facebook communities that KW has created. So if you want to connect, I always say that the beautiful thing about KW is we're small, feeling in the sense that we have our community here at KWCPA, but then we have resources and communities at a regional level and a national level. So there's a lot of Facebook communities out there that are KW based, so they know our systems like Command. They understand the models, so you're speaking with people that are speaking the same language, if you will. I personally and my team, we're a part of a lot of Facebook groups for leadership. So there's like one for team leaders, there's one for market center administrators, and that helps us pull in resources when we hit something really, gosh, I just don't know what to do here. We can kind of send an SOS out to those community groups and say, hey, have you come across this issue before? What did you do? And it's helped us build relationships. So now when I go to family reunion, I actually have people that I'm trying to see from other states that I get to connect with in person. Julie is a part of a pretty famous Facebook community, the James Shaw Group. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? And how that's how you do the business?
Yeah, so, that started March 2020. Yeah, when we got shut down, Gary Keller, that's why we're with KW, he's forward thinking, okay, coaches, what are you gonna do? And by, I think Wednesday, these groups started. And then I got on the following Monday, and so now 5 years later, and we're 8 to 8:20. Every morning, when we first started, there were thousands, there were people from all countries. But now, there's, I would say about 1,000. And top agents, like Jenny Wallach, like I followed her for years. I was like, holy smokes, she's on this. And it's so good to see a solid $1 million producer share, their, pitfalls and mistakes and how they've grown. And even to this day, like, Jess Stark, right before Christmas, she got on and she said, I got a call, I was in Florida, from my team, and they say, guess what? We have no active listings. She's like, holy smokes, I gotta get on the plane and get back up to Connecticut and buckle down. And it was so amazing that there's a $1 million producer, has a small team, and they do, fabulous. And you're going, okay, we're not, so if anything, and then, the other, like, so much has grown out of that. Phil Jones has grown out of that. I met him. He has, these other speakers on. He, somebody that book that you just had up there, like, that you.
Oh, the buyback.
Yeah, like he brings a lot of these people on and interviews them. Actually, today, I'm not on, I have a 12 o'clock call, but I'm here. He's speaking to, Miracle Morning. He's interviewed, yeah, so everybody's on,
We're on
listening
a
to
first
how.
meeting.
Yeah.
You guys can,
Yeah, so, and James' background was, he was a team leader. And then his real background has been, I was in, broadcasting. So, he likes that because he has that voice. But he was a team leader and then went to be a bold coach. And then, developed, quite a few, offices. And then, of course, he was the bold coach when we got shut down. So then he started this and now it's grown into a big training company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, doesn't he have an official?
And I'm telling you guys, 8 to 8:20, it's free. It's like, it doesn't cost anything and you can listen to, it's taped, but it's better if you're on live.
Yeah.
And the best thing is to, like, we started with no faces, and then after a while, you go, okay, I'll put the video on. And then it's like, I'm never gonna participate, and then you go, oh, that reminds me, and then you just learn so much. You really.
Well, what I love is I see you connecting, like you'll be somewhere and you're like, oh my gosh, I ran into this James Shaw person. And it's just that form of connection. Like, as humans, we all have to feel like we're connected to something. And these groups help give you that kind of layer.
Well, that's where I met Ellie McIntyre. So Julie and I, 3 years ago, went down and met her in Baltimore and interviewed her, took her out and bought her, lunch. And that's how we learned, the blessing baskets. That's how we learned to take our, client appreciations to a top level. She's the one that taught us about your A Facebook group, your private, like, it's only for whoever bought, sold, or referred. And how in that you have all these little contests, like she's the one that we interviewed. And our blessing baskets this year, I mean, we keep growing. We were at 114 families that we fed. And now we take it into Easter. So I'm not smart enough to figure anything out. That's what's great about this company. Everything that we do, we've ripped off and duplicated from somebody in this company.
I love that. And yeah, that's definitely what these groups, because you're seeing what people are doing all over the world.
Well, I don't think too that when Julie's not making these connections, don't think that it doesn't offer up referral opportunities too. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
she is a whole referral network across the United States now based on her pivot shift to family, like
Yeah, so anybody that joins and doesn't speak up,
huge.
just speak up.
Yeah.
Julie House from Harrisburg, Hershey. And Jay's like, what do you want to say? And then I do real bullet points. Like, I try not to take up too much time, but then people are like, Harrisburg, Hershey, where are you again? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But then you get those referrals. So it's a lead generation strategy too. This is the part that trips up a lot of people. So I get a lot of questions around this. So there are resources that KWRI provides. So if you scan those QR codes, it'll take you to KW Connect. You do have to use your command login to access these, but there's different org charts for different teams. So you pick the team size that you want to grow to, and that would be your vision for your future team. There's job profiles. So you don't have to start from scratch with creating the job description and the job profile. They've got them pre-curated for you. And then you just tweak them as you need. Same thing with the first 100 days. And then comp models, that's probably the biggest one that I get questions around. Compensation models are there. Just remember that it may be different for our hyper-local area. And I think that is where more of the local masterminding becomes helpful. MAPS coaching also offers training for your team members. So this 30, 60, 90 is the one that I really wanted to highlight. If you bring on someone new to your team, and maybe you're a smaller team, you don't have a sales director yet, but you're in a lot of production at the moment, you can leverage a coach for that, say, buyer's agent's first 90 days. And they will meet with a coach every morning for, I think it's like 30 minutes. And then they have like 1 hour session per week. And then they also have some group coaching in there. So you can hire a coach to help get that position through their first 100 days. Erica, I think you used one of these before, is that correct? Did you find it helpful?
I did, yeah. Jeff is part of our, new employee.
And the thing about it, I think the one thing that I get oftentimes is, well, if I hire, I don't have time to train them. This is a resource for you if you're stuck in that position. We also have market center resources. Agent portal should look familiar. Everybody say yes.
Well, it did change a little bit. In all fairness, the cosmetics
Yeah,
of
so
it changed.
when I went to put the screenshot in, I was like, oh, it looks blurry. So I got sidetracked and I revamped the portal a little bit. Our small groups, if you're not plugged into our small groups, you're definitely missing out. I know a lot of you like attending Matt and Dave's experienced agent small groups, but that's just another way to feel close-knit here as being a part of those masterminds. Let us train your agents. Just because you have a team and you have your own training, you can still leverage us to help train your people. So our Education Tuesday calendar, we also have a Thinkific portal. So there's training in there. If you hire on someone to your team that's pretty new, we have a jumpstart program for them. That typically is reserved for our productivity coaching program, but we do allow our teams to utilize it. So their agents will go through a jumpstart course that teaches them all the agreements, the addendums. It teaches them how to go through a listing consult, a buyer consult, a little bit of scripting in there, you know, everything from the consumer notice to the very last video is actually a mock closing. That title and Jeremy did, so they went through an actual package in the video so they can see it from start to finish, what that looks like. We found through the productivity coaching program that gave the agents the most anxiety was closing day because there wasn't really material that said this is what it looks like. So you as the team owners can absolutely put your newer agents through there. I always recommend if they've had less than 5 closings, they should probably go through that. So know that that's leverage for you from the market center. Any questions around that? Anything else to share that I'm missing that's valuable in there, Adrian? I guess there's bright training. I think like how to use the showing time app. Some of those things that you may not think about because you just use it all the time. But all those videos are in there. We also have a team policy. So if you're thinking about growing a team, it's helpful to review it. This was voted on by your ALC. So it's not something that we just came on and put together. But the one thing that I think we do really well here is teams. I think we do a really good job at helping independent agents grow their businesses too. But one thing that differentiates us from other brokerages is our teams are successful, they're profitable. Most of our rainmakers, I think, are happy most of the time. And it's because we have systems in place and they follow those systems. And I think that they are the example for what teams should look like. And because of that, we do have some guidelines here to just help guide in that process. We always recommend that you have an agreement between you, the rainmaker, and your agents on your team. So to get you started, we do have a template We always recommend that when you have things like this, in place, it never hurts to have an attorney review. I am not an attorney. But it does help to not have to start from scratch. So this is a great template to have. I call this like your prenup. So when you bring an agent on your team and everybody's excited, it's all rainbows and daisies until they have to leave. And then there might be disagreements around database and who gets what and how does commission work. This will spell all that out in the agreement up front. So that way, should they decide to leave later because life happens, you already have it in writing and you're not trying to negotiate when emotions are high. Any thoughts around this? It's a lot easier when you can go back to the document and be like, remember when we signed this? Before the panel comes on up, this is your homework. So this is where it all starts. Is the vision traction organizer. In that EOS toolbox is a PDF version. So if you prefer to print and handwrite, you have that option. If you're like me and you like spreadsheets, I have a spreadsheet for that, and your VTO is in a tab there. I highly recommend that you at least get it started. Like in writing, we call it a shitty rough draft. Get your shitty rough draft out. It doesn't have to be perfect. Just get your thoughts out. And then Adrian and I would love to meet with you and go over it with you, help you streamline it, get it more intentional. But I would recommend you do one for your business. And quite honestly, in that EOS toolbox, there is a personal VTO. Ben and I use that for our family. And I don't know if some of you saw, but we're moving. And that big move, like we had to go back to that document before we made that decision. And that's when things became really clear of how out of alignment we had been living. And it was because we have this personal VTO. So we'd love to go over that one with you too, but that's your homework. If you do nothing else today, even if you never want to grow a team, trust me, if you do this, it will help put things into perspective for your life as well as your business.
And I think that this also helps you, like, there's a part in there about your niche and like your uniques and who you really, so whether you want to be a team or whether you just want to communicate clearly in a listing appointment or a buyer agency agreement appointment, who you are, what you do, and why they should work with you, this is a great resource for that.
Drew, any thoughts?
No, I just thought it was great.
Erica? Thoughts on the VTO? Sorry.
She's got shots.
You caught my attention.
There you go.
Denise, do you mind me picking on you for a little bit?
About,
Of the VTO?
I mean, I like it. It helps simplify everything. I've had to revise it multiple times just because when you first start out, you put so much information on it. And really you just need the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, it helps. Like, this is what's important. Everything else is noise.
Yeah.
Oftentimes we think a business plan has to be 30 pages. It could be 2. Like, I wasn't gonna say it, but if Maddie wants to talk about.
Well, I came to Brittany with the like Tom Ferry business plan and it was 30 pages long and we
Which-
simplified it into this.
Which
so-
was phenomenal. I mean, it was detailed.
It was a lot.
Yeah, it had a lot of great stuff in it, but we were able to summarize it. So your work was not wasted at all because you were able to take that and summarize it into 2-page, which the reason why I think that's important is if you had to read 30 pages every week, would you? Heck no, I'm never looking at that document ever again. 2 pages, it's in the front of, we have a huddle binder every morning, it's in the front of ours, like we can just always easily glance at it and just remember like what's important to us, what do we need to be focusing on? True.
I think that as we're talking about how much power it is for us to be able to do this both personally and professionally, it's the same for team members as well. So one of the things that we do that has been really helpful, because I'm not really good on the surface, like I want to be down deep in there, right?
Yeah.
And so, once our team members have been with us for about a year, like I'm thinking about Julie with you, did you say 8 years? Yeah, so we do career visioning with them again. Because, and it's phenomenal how much different their interview was from what happens during that portion of it. When you're not in interview mode, right? And you can really be able to get down into the deep stuff. And then at the end of career visioning, they build out their own BTO for themselves. And also a net worth tracker, but they build out their own BTO for themselves. And then we look at that together every single quarter. And it helps me to know what it is that they're shooting for. And it helps them in the same way that it helps us know what our North Star is. You know, I had, you talk about that with the house, I had a team member that made a investment decision within the last year. And in our quarterly conversation and reviewing his BTO, realized how far off track he was with that. Like that was not, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
In the way that that will help you do it. So it's super impactful for your team members.
I love that. And it's so difficult, I think, to do that just on your own. Like, I think it's so empowering that your team has someone else to look at it with, because if you're just sitting by yourself looking at it, what are you missing? And collaborating with your team and other people just very eye-opening.
Well, and when they do these specific goals and the things that they want to achieve and everything, so then you take that and throw it into your their personal business plan. And they said, this is the amount of money I need based on all the things that I want to do. And then you track that back to, okay, that's now your number of listings you have to have, or buyers, or calls, or whatever. And then in the mornings, you can look at it and go, hey, last week, how did it go? Oh, we didn't get there. It's not about, I didn't hit that, I was supposed to make 17 calls and I didn't. 17 connections and didn't. It's like, that's not going to help me get to all these things that I said I wanted to do. So now what are we gonna do to double down to get to those things? And I think that's been the kind of the game changer for me is I wasn't good at holding people accountable to the number of contacts they said they were gonna make or appointments or whatever, because I felt bad. And it's, you know, it's their money, it's their life, but now I can go and I'm not the bad guy. I was like, what's changed on this sheet? Nothing. Okay, then what can we do to help you to actually hit those numbers? And so now it's a collaborative conversation about how do we collectively help you get the things you want. It's been helpful.
I don't like how Drew said, like, you're not surface, because that's part of my problem is I'm not a surface person. I like to dig down deep and I like to have purpose behind. So at first they always say, oh, everybody says, I'm gonna make 100,000.
Yeah.
Everybody says that. It's known in our, you know, it's the comment. Okay, and yet why?
Right.
And then you keep digging and you keep digging and all of a sudden it's no longer that I want to make it or need to make it. And all of a sudden it's like you go, there it is.
Yeah, on the second page of that number would be at the top, right? That's not one of your goals, that's your top. And
Right.
then your goals for the year are the ones that support that.
Right.
Yeah.
I think too, one thing I forgot to mention, like having an org chart that your team knows and is aware of is so helpful in this conversation too, because it helps you as the leader where they might grow into later. If you have that org chart, like this is what we think we're gonna look like in 5 years, it kind of helps you see like, where's your bench and who might grow into what position. And it also gives them, I think, the opportunity to dream about what position they might want to grow into. Because most, you know, there's some people that do love sales and they want to be in sales forever, but there's a handful of people that do want to grow into some type of leadership role. We get that a lot. It's like, how does that happen? And if it can't happen within a market center, now we're always growing and hiring, but if you want to get into leadership, you could also join a team. Because as they grow, those opportunities open up. Erica?
So I think what the VTO did for, our team was allow us to see who's going to need to be involved in order for it to grow. For example, I didn't look at the numbers. I took away the numbers because I thought it was really important to understand what is our true core values. Because you can teach people the skills necessary, but if they're not a core value match, it's never going to grow. So we really did scale back and determine exactly who is going to be the right person that we want to align with our vision that we have in order for us to grow to the level that we see. So that's what the VTO did for us.
I love that.
And bouncing off that, because you took something I wrote for later on, Greg Rochelle is,
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
I
love
listen
Greg.
to his leadership podcast every Thursday, he drops one. And I think it was last month when he said you hire culture, because you're
Yeah, I
always,
know.
yeah.
I think we were all like texting.
Yeah, you hire culture, we can always train somebody to be a good realtor.
Yeah.
I can do that day in, day out, I can do that in my sleep, but it's the culture.
Mhm.
Then also,
For any
like,
position.
that's my 2025, like that opened my eyes, you're absolutely right, no matter what, you gotta hire culture and we can train them.
That's
the easy
huge.
part.
But that also goes back to those values.
Yeah.
Have to be legit.
Yes.
They can't be
Yes.
understood. They've gotta be
That's exactly
legit, because if they're not legit, then
Right.
you're not hiring to the right
That's
culture.
exactly
You're
right.
saying you're this, but what you really are is this.
Right.
That's problematic.
Yeah.
At least it was for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Around to figure it out.
Yeah.
You know, our leadership team inherited core values to be fair. And finally, was it 2 quarters ago now? Maybe 1, it all blurs. But we were like, you know what, like, who are we at this table? And like, what do we miss at this table? What's something that we realize, like, wow, if a team member doesn't have this attribute, like, it throws everything off. And it took failures, and it took a rocky ocean, some waves to like, for us to figure that out, so you just have to go with the process. For sure. Our wonderful lady leaders ready. I did not intentionally leave Ben out, I apologize. I didn't know. It's all good. I think women are starting to dominate the industry anyway.
I just, but I wrote a whole bunch more.
So Drew, we'll start with you.
Okay.
And then we'll just work our way down, and then on the next question, we could just work our way back, does that sound good?
Sure.
Okay, and then, of course, if you've got other things, just throw it out there, we're casual here. So Drew, what was the first position hired for your team and why?
So, I was thinking about this question and like where we were, it was 2013. So one thing I would say to note is there weren't, all of these really amazing, like leverage companies back then. whenever we
Okay.
Had the positions, right? So, first position was an administrative assistant, and that person took Dave's 80%, so he could do the 20%. So he was in production and starting to grow the team. And so there was that administrative assistant that did any kind of processes, marketing, listing activation, any of that kind of stuff. And then second position was me as buyer's agent back then.
Okay, I
So,
appreciate that.
Yeah, probably different. And when I say that, I didn't have access to that administrative assistant, right? But probably different than now, there are so many leverage points to add to your business.
Right, like precision TC, right, marketing, that kind of thing. Miss Julie?
So, I was corrected this morning. I thought it was my assistant, but Julia reminded me that we actually had a contract to close manager first. I'm like, oh my gosh, how could I have forgotten about her? And actually, we hired her to, contract to close, but not only that, to train Julianne. She goes, did you forget that so-and-so trained me? I'm like, I guess I did. So our first hire was a contract to close manager who helped us with systems as well. And then, once we hired, she did the training.
That's awesome.
I know, it's like, hey, totally good.
Yeah.
And I'm still in contact with her, not the business, but I'm still in contact.
So mine was admin as well. And it wasn't TC work as much as it was like holding me accountable to a budget, making sure I stayed on track schedule wise and just freeing me up from the little day-to-day. She'd run through my email, see if there were any fires that way, because if I get into my email, I deep dive into my email. So she's like, stay out of your email, stay in someone's kitchen table, right? That's where you need to be. And so she took those kind of things. She still does.
It's Kelly.
It's Kelly. And literally, if I die, it's not gonna be a problem because Kelly can run my entire life.
Yeah.
And how long has she been working there? 8,
Yeah,
9 years,
yeah,
something like
yeah,
that. Yeah,
So
Yeah.
first hire.
yeah. If you need to know anything about our team, don't ask me.
We should have had Kelly. That's why we have Drew instead of Dave.
If she was, if her son wasn't in recovery, she would be here, yes. From surgery.
Okay, thank you.
Surgery recovery, surgery recovery, she had, yeah, not that kind of recovery. Sorry, Hal. Good clarification, yes.
Mine was also an admin assistant years ago. Standing in the back. So yes, she came on with me and another business partner I had years ago. But we realized we needed somebody to organize, process, because we were getting to the point where, we had a good business that was getting stronger, but there was too much being taken away from my personal life, so I had to dive into, yes, I need. So we brought Sean on, and then, from there, she just started to formulate systems for us, different, holding accountable items for us.
That's an important hire. Notice that all three of us have someone that's.
I was
like-
just gonna say that, I was just gonna say that maybe we should do a class where they're sitting here.
Yeah.
Because you often hear people say, your first hire will never last your first, and I gone through so many assistants and and all three of us, our first hire
Oh, yeah.
is still with us. And believe me, every year, talk to Julie about what her goals are and why are you still here, and
Yeah.
so sorry.
The other.
Yeah. I did go through 2 others beforehand, but it was quick. It was I hired fast. But I also fired fast. Well, one of them fired me, and she's actually a top agent now, so there you go.
And can I share something?
Yeah, please.
Okay, we made the worst mistake. So guys, listen to this. We hired 2 at the same time. Worst mistake. My husband loves Julie but he was convinced on this other one, and the other one drove me crazy. And I finally at mega camp said to him, outside mega camp, either you go or she goes. I don't care what you want. And he still wasn't convinced. And then I was sitting at a red light, my word is joy. And I called him and I said, you know what? I have no joy. And he said, consider it done.
That's a good.
And that was it. She took the joy, like, good person, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But not for us. And then Julie stayed, don't ever hire 2 at the same time of any position.
It is tough when you're training 2 at the same time, for
Yeah.
sure. One thing I just want to point out too is nobody hired a buyer's agent first,
No.
which is the common,
Mhm.
like, knee jerk, that's what I gotta hire, I need to get buyers off my plate. You don't have to have a full-time admin, but like the first hire was leveraging off, as Drew said, the 80%.
Putting the systems in place.
Mhm.
Yes, you don't have the systems in place.
Mhm.
Bringing a buyer's agent is going to help, but it's not going to help you as a team.
And we weren't here and didn't have these nifty systems, so I needed somebody to create them for me. Because that was not gonna be something I was gonna do that. Know your strengths.
That's in buy back your time too.
Yeah.
What's been your biggest challenge in building your team and how did you overcome it? You're in the hot seat first.
Okay,
This time.
the biggest challenge I would say in building the team is, probably getting everyone together at the same time. And this might seem, but getting everybody together at the same time to make important decisions, because we are a team and those decisions aren't made by just me, by just Sean, they are made by everybody, and just getting everybody together to be focused, to make those decisions we need to make to move forward. So to overcome that, we're still working on that.
You solve it with EOS,
With that,
with EOS.
we're trying. We are
It's a work in
getting
progress,
there,
yeah.
right, but, yeah, I think that's it for us, yeah.
I love that transparency.
It is
And I think
very
a lot of us in the room are probably all thinking the focus part.
Yeah, yeah,
We get it.
uh-huh.
Yes.
Ours is right butts, right seat, as I call it. And we have hired amazing people that were maybe didn't have quite the same value system that we did in terms of the way we wanted to present to clients. We have hired people that were amazing and had all the right things, but did not have the life that would enable them to deliver the way they wanted to deliver. Everyone's always parted friends, but it's been hard to find the right people that have the capacity and desire. So if you look at that chart, do I want it, get it, have the capacity for it? One of the three of those things has been missing at times, like I really want it, I really get it, but I don't have the capacity, or, I have the capacity and I get it, but it's not really the way I want to live my life and run my business. And if there's a disconnect in any of those, I think it's best to part friends. And so it feels like we're somewhere. I'm finally in a place where I have the get it, want it capacity people right for my very small team. And so my next fear is how do we help them to go to that next level? And that's what that doing their own business plan has done, is to help them really quantify their big why and what they want to do. And I had them share it with their families so that there's a commitment there. So, talk with your spouse, talk with your whoever is important in your life, so that they get commitment with their family. And that way also, when mommy wasn't able to make this one particular thing, she was late to my soccer game. Here's why. This is the vacation that I promised you I was gonna fund. And this is gonna help me do that. So I can't do that all the time, but this one, I had to take that. So that has been a good, anytime you can go back to that big why.
And the get it, want it capacity conversation, back to that EOS toolbox. That is in the quarterly 5-5-5 template. So every quarter you want to meet with your staff and have that 5-5-5. That is right in, you just go through the document. It tells you exactly what questions to ask. It's a game-changing conversation.
It is.
For sure.
It is.
So I was gonna say ditto.
Yeah.
I was gonna say ditto. I think the biggest challenge, for us and building a team, is that, I was a coach before. I created, cross country track and field for many, many years. I love development. I love coaching and development. So our team is a coaching development team. I will be honest with you, in the state of PA, I have to have my name on the sign, but if I didn't have to, I wouldn't. Other states, it's, like Epic Homes or something like that.
Yes.
So part of the team that I feel is a struggle is, it's the Julie Hess team. And I would change that in a heartbeat if I could.
Same.
Yeah,
Same.
I'd rather.
We need to petition, because I
Yeah.
don't hear that a lot.
Yeah. And so so for us joining our team, we're a development and training team. If you're gonna come onto our team for leads, we're not the team. I wanna develop you. And Richard Branson always said, train them so they can lead. Treat them that they don't want to.
Yeah.
And that's our motto. We wanna train you so that you can go out and think for yourself. I raised 3 boys. Think for yourself, guys.
Yeah.
Like I did not do their homework.
Right.
Figure it out. And so I wanna train people to build this life that they wanna create. But I'm not just gonna hand it, because your goals are different. Yeah. So that's been our biggest challenge. I will say though, in the last few months, we've really dug into this again, the BTO. And gone 3, 4, 5 deep, and I got to the point where, I know who I am and I'm done apologizing for it. I have systems, I have structure. We lead gen every morning, we script, and that's just who I am. And as a couple months ago, I decided I'm done apologizing.
Yeah.
It works for me, it
Yeah,
works for
and that's
Julianne,
your
it works for our team. That's our core values. And if it doesn't work for somebody else, that's absolutely fine.
They're
And
not
I'm-
a value fit.
And I'm done apologizing for it.
I love.
Yeah.
You're a little feisty.
Yeah, I
Yeah, I
know.
love
I love to train people, and people think they're coachable and trainable until they start to to shadow you. And you go, I don't want to say that, I don't want to do that. And everybody wants to sell real estate, but they really don't.
Yeah,
It
that's why.
looks like it's a lot of fun, but it's not a lot of fun. We're in the lead generation business, folks. That's what we're in. So, so we're, thanks to Greg Rochelle, we're looking for the culture first. Because we know we can train you, but if you don't have the culture. And then the last thing is, we put on our value, the very last thing, in our team, you gotta have a sense of humor. I mean, John Olsh's team, sometimes I'm wondering, like, are we blowing them out? Julie and I laugh so hard and so loud some days over the dumbest things, but you gotta have a sense of humor. And then the other thing too, which we never did, but we do now, is we want to meet their support system. Like, I don't know, somebody said a long time ago, would you want to hang around this person? And if the answer is no, then why would you bring them on your team? Because you are a team and you're hanging out all the time together and you're building each other's lives together. So on our team, you gotta have a sense of humor because there's a lot about this business to laugh about. And if you don't laugh, you're gonna cry.
True enough.
Yeah.
True.
Well said.
I think that I took a while to think about what the biggest challenge was, and I would say our biggest challenge is probably pretty similar to what everybody else has said is leading and managing people and constantly recruiting in a way that you know that there is going to be turnover for it. I remember in the MREA book, they talk about when you feel like you have too many leads, you stop lead generating. And you can't do that because there's going to come a time where your business is going to dry up and you're going to say, I shouldn't have done that, right? And the same when you're building a team, is you have to constantly be doing that. And then you have to constantly be leading and managing those people and their emotions and their lives. I said to Mason one day, my son who's 13, I said, managing people has to be the hardest job in the world. I think I told Erica, he was like, I'm pretty sure brain surgeon's harder. And I was like, all right, maybe you're right. But managing people is hard. And none of us in this room started our careers thinking, I'm gonna manage people, right? We all said, I'm gonna sell a lot of real estate, right? I'm gonna learn how to find leads and work with buyers and sellers and consult on that with them. And I'm gonna sell a lot of real estate. And there's not even like, you have to look for training on how to learn to lead and manage people. You know, we go to family reunion and we learn how to sell more houses, right? But truly it's the EOS, it's the Craig Rochelle, it's all of that to learn how to run your business and how to lead and manage people.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've told people before, and I think I actually heard this from Brene Brown, so it's not mine, but it resonated with me, like, it's marriage, parenting, leading and managing people. If you were to rank them from like the hardest relationships just to that it's work. So I love marriage and I love parenting. It's the most rewarding things ever, but those rewards also come with it's work. It's work. So I can appreciate that. How do you identify and attract the right talent for your team's culture? We've kind of touched on it, but we can go a little bit deeper.
I would just say our specific process for that is we did go through core values exercise to identify our core values. We tear them apart every quarter. So we look at them, are they still the right ones? Do they need to change? Anything like that. So we're very clear on what our core values are. And then in the interview process, we use the people analyzer from EOS to find out if this person is a plus minus, or a minus on those core values. We do that as we're interviewing, and then the one step that we never skip in interviewing is the team interview, where I gather a few of our team members or somebody from the market center, and that's specifically what they're looking for. They know our core values and they're looking for the person, are they core values fit or not?
I love that.
Julie?
Once again, ditto. But it's funny because I pulled Jeff in on this, Jeff's my husband, and Julie in on this as a team answering some of these questions, so it wasn't coming from mine, and I circled attract, because I'm like, I'm not sure we're attracting people, and yet Julie's interviewing somebody right now, and once again, the core values have become the big thing. And what's the reason why we're interviewing her is because she has been watching us, and for our blessing basket, she showed up. She doesn't even, she's not even a consultant, she's not, you know, she's not in the business yet, and she showed up with baskets, like she got.
Yeah, she got
My
who you are.
core value, I'm passionate about, and I'll be honest with you guys, when I got in, it used to make money. It wasn't long before I realized the more money I make, the more money I can give. And I'm at an age where like, you know, I made a commitment in 2007 to tithe, and I thought, well, okay, if I made this, I could tithe that. Oh my gosh, if I made this, I could put this much back into community, that would make an impact. And that's what fuels me, is being able to have the ability to make an impact. And she showed up. I was like, I'm like, Julie, who is that? She goes, it's so-and-so. And she came with a basket to help feed a family.
And wasn't, because you said you don't attract, but you do. One of your showing agents maybe, she joined your team because she loved what your community involvement is. So your core values absolutely do attract. Yeah.
And that's what we're focusing on,
I
because
love
we can
that.
train.
Yeah. So when I switched over to Keller Williams, I had no intention of coming here. And I, as a favor, kind of, because Dave Hook did me a solid, I met with him. And he cast this vision that I left there, and I called my husband and I said, oh my God, I am so screwed. And he goes, "Why?" And I said, because I have to switch companies. He's like, wait, what? And I said, be prepared, because Dave likes to know ahead of time when we're gonna have these like ridiculous, life-changing conversations. And literally that night, after a 2-hour conversation, Dave's like, okay, when are you gonna do this? And it was because Dave cast a vision for me that made me realize that I'm doing this. I sell, I get paid, I sell, I get paid, but at some point in time, I don't wanna sell, how am I still gonna get paid? And so I was like, and then he said, you could do this and this and this and this, and he cast this vision that was like, oh, how do I become part of that? And so a big part of our hiring process, and I'm not saying I do it well, but I'm working on it, is to cast that vision. And part of it is that org chart. And I have like this plan, and no disrespect, but I don't wanna be the Dave Hook team. I don't wanna manage that many people and have all of that kind of stuff. It's not kind of who I can be. But I do have a plan as to who I wanna be, and I can show people where they can grow and be, and somebody someday hopefully is gonna be in my seat. And so that's a big part of our hiring, is to cast a bigger vision and try and get people to buy into that vision and see how they can achieve their goals from that.
I love that.
And all the value stuff too, because that's critically important, but the vision piece is the piece that I try and start.
Love that.
Ours, I'm very similar to you, and I think we know that. So
Yeah.
ours is, yes. What's our long-term vision, and what are you looking for as an individual? So that is number one. Number two is we want to make sure it's obviously a good culture fit, and our culture, you know, we all don't have exactly the same, but we're all in that same mindset. And we know that if we bring the same energy, then we're all feeding off each other. And so for us, it is a lot of positive energy. And I think Julie touched on this. We have a lot of humor in our team, and we like that, because when we're all together and we're collaborating and we're trying to come up with different thoughts and ideas, if we can't all laugh together about it, we're not going to be passionate about it.
Yeah.
So we have to have the passion, number one, to be passionate about it. We've got to really, really like what we're doing, and we're on board with that. And then our contribution. We all come from a place of contribution, and we want to make sure that everybody involved is still going that way and moving that way. So we've got to come from a place of contribution on our team.
I love that. One, I would say like back to the casting vision piece, like that's definitely what solidified it for me as an agent joining the Dave Hook team, was just that understanding of, especially because I came from corporate world, was understanding where is my future? Like, what does that look like for a real estate agent? Because I didn't know what I didn't know. I was so green. But then project manipulate. So a lot of times as you grow your teams, like people don't buy into necessarily like who you are, but they buy into what you do, and they'll buy into your vision. They're going to say, oh my gosh, I love that. That resonates with me. I want to be a part of that. Because not everybody in the room can be a leader. Right? Like there's
people who are leaders and there's people who are followers, and that's okay. But there's people who just want to be a part of something. So they're not visionaries, but they will happily help you grow your vision. And they'll happily be a part of that. So keep that in mind.
I also want to add to Julie, to your point that, you know, I got in this years and years ago, also to make a living for my family, but now I'm at a point where how much can I give back? So every year I set a goal, there's a goal to give back, and every year I hope that rises, because I think I'm a little bit, a big part of that is how much can I give back and who can I give that to?
Right. And that's a great, it's a great way to feed the people on your team, like to have them be part of that. And we have our clients be part of that. We're like right now talking to various charities and organizations and figuring out who we're giving back to this year. And I just think it makes it all worthwhile. And when you are down in the dumps and feeling kind of lousy about something, you're like, oh, but look what we did by giving this money to this charity. Look at how many people they helped, or look at what they did.
And we see it, we're right in it.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's why I tell people, we're in the thick of it.
Yeah.
We, you know, real estate is not HGTV.
Right.
You know, we're talking to couples that are getting divorced, we're talking to people that have a death, we talk to people that have to foreclose. Like, we see the need day in and day out. And so, you know, I think that's how we get our clients to understand.
Yeah.
And, you know, like, you know, they come to the blessing baskets, like, what are you gonna do? When's your next one? You're like, okay, let's get through the night.
Yeah.
And we do Easter. Easter's a little bit different because not everybody celebrates Easter, but they're so eager. Your database, now we just put it out on Facebook. We have people show up and we're like, okay, who is that? And so we finally say, you know, because Julie's, oh, so-and-so, hey, so-and-so, and she goes, did she just tell you? I go, yes, she did.
Yeah.
Sorry. But people want to help. They really want to help. And there's a great need out there. There really is.
Yeah.
So by bringing them on, yeah, they see you in a different light.
I love that. So one other thing, or not one other thing, but under my next question, if you notice, all of our teams up here, they have all different size teams, but they're all successful in their own way and what defines success for them. So why, I guess the question is, how do you know what size team is right for you and your goals? So we'll start with Drew.
I think I'm starting with that. No.
But I supposed to.
No, it's okay, you're fine. It's pretty easy. So we exist at this point to provide opportunity for other people who want it. Most people in this room know that Dave Hook doesn't need to line his pockets with anything additional, and so we exist solely to be able to provide opportunity for other people. And there's a couple components to that. We can't do that if we're not growing. I have 2 talented team members right now, and it crushes me that we can't get them to where they want to go until we grow into a bigger place. So we know where we need to be in order to provide that opportunity. And that career visioning and the quarterly conversation of their own VTOs and knowing where they want to go is usually what fuels that growth. So knowing where your people want to go and then designing your business in a way that will provide that opportunity for them to be in. I also know that I was somebody who wanted to grow, like I didn't want to be a buyer's agent forever. And then at some point, I didn't want to sell homes anymore, right? I did want to start leading and managing people. And then I got to a point where I didn't want to lead and manage the day-to-day of the business, but I wanted to oversee all of it and provide opportunity for other people to do that. And so I know that I need to grow the business to a place because there will be people who are looking for that opportunity. And if I can't provide it for them, I'm gonna lose somebody who is a really, really good fit for our organization because I can provide it.
I love
So
that.
this is what we are.
This was the hardest question. This was a hard question because I don't know if, I know the org chart and I know that, I think I wrote it on the back today, is my goal is always, like, I'm not looking to be this big, large team and I'm not looking to be a top team. What I'm looking for is to be good at what I do every day in all areas of my life. So to put a number on that, you know, I look at the org chart, I think it's, level 4 or 5, I
Oh,
think,
yes,
yeah,
in
could-
MREA.
yeah, in the MREA. And yet I look at the MREA sometimes and I'm not sure if that org chart is still. I wonder if it needs to be tweaked a little bit, is what I'm saying, because I'm seeing a lot of changes. So that's real hard. I think for me, my goal is to understand my goals. So building my team, like I know my lid. So I know my freedom number. So I know no matter whether I'm a single agent or I grow a team, or someday I say, forget the team and I'll join the Dave Hook team. And I think they would take me. I gotta know what it is that I need to do. So in a sense, it goes back to the training and education team. Like, I'm not building it so I could be a level 7. I'm building it to have a nice group of people. My goal is to be able to step out. Yeah. My thing in my mind, and I could be wrong, is because I'm older and I've seen a lot of real estate agents, I always had this perception, they don't know how to lead.
Correct.
Yeah, I see, like.
And I don't want to be 80 to
I
catch a
don't, I
table.
don't think it's key west of it, and I want to see something tangible for all my years, and so me, it would be, I see a lot of agents, they just like, yeah, they don't know how to hand it off, they just kind of leave. And I feel sad about that they worked this hard and they didn't have something to turn over. And that's my goal, is to work this hard to have something that's gonna be turned over to someone else, that now they're gonna build the life they want to. And so with that, I don't know if I have a number, as much as I'm looking for that team or that system, if that makes sense.
Totally.
Yeah,
And
so, in a sense, I'm looking to stay somewhere small and a little bit, yeah, because I don't know if I can handle a large thing, to be quite frank with you.
And that's
I don't
okay.
know, I don't, yeah,
It's not for everyone.
yeah,
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
no wrong answer.
Yeah.
There's no wrong answer.
good, because I don't have a number.
No, well, and I struggled too. Everything Julie just said, and I think that, I guess the way I look at it is based on my team's ability to meet the needs of the business that we're creating.
Mhm.
So as we grow and as they, they have their numbers, their financial goals and they are more focused on specific numbers for specific things than maybe I am at this point in my life, being significantly older than they are. And so in order to feed what they want, we need to grow this business. And as they get to capacity and we're getting more people in, more clients and more opportunities, we need to be able to put another person in and kind of give them that opportunity. So I think it's based on capacity of the people that are in it and the business that we can create. And when those two have to be in harmony.
Mhm.
And so we're going to continue to add people to the extent that we can continue to grow and thrive and support the folks that we need to support. And when I first hired a buyer's agent, the reason I did that is because even with Kelly, I didn't have the ability to be in enough places and take on, I was having to say no to some people,
Mhm.
and that felt really icky. So this is a way around it.
For me, I had to, and I guess if I could give one piece of advice here is what I've been in the business now 26 years, and I had to look at, so what are the top 3 or 4 words that my clients have used over the years when they say why they came back to us? Because we have a very, very large referral business. So why do they keep coming back? And I have to take those words and say, okay, at what point can I not meet those expectations, those words anymore? So I know the number as far as where I think I can handle, but I don't want to get to the point where I don't feel like I can give those words back to the people who've given them to me to build the business.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Does that
well
does that
said.
make sense?
Mhm.
So I have to know where my cap is there, and, where we are now is comfortable. We're comfortable as far as managing those expectations to the people that we've served over those 26 years. Because it took a long time to get here and to get to that referral base. And I never, ever want to lose that. I don't want to lose any of those words. So in order to do that, I need to stay comfortable there and not feel like it's out of my control.
I can appreciate that.
That's
Thank
great.
you. I know that was a tough question, so I sandwiched it. Hopefully the next ones aren't as difficult.
I think the other thing, if I could say, is you gotta understand red light, green light too.
Ooh, yes.
Yeah, and so I know when I would go to Mega Camp and I would see these teams on the stage and I'd be like, oh my gosh, and and then luckily Dave, and that's why we moved to this office because of Dave, he would sit me down and say, if you realize that team's profits is very, very low.
Mhm.
We're profitable. We are red light, we run lean. But I thought that was interesting. So like Demi Moore said the other night, stop comparing, stop using the measuring stick. Because I would sit there and go, oh my gosh, but then all of a sudden I find out the truth. And
Yeah.
the truth was that particular team was a discount team.
Don't compare your insides to other people's
That's not
outsides.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, but remember red light, green light. Don't go spending. Bold this year, the one thing I learned from Bold this year was when he said, there is $1 billion business out there selling to real estate agents. And when he said that, I went, going, I'm not a shining star, but our industry is a shining star. And I thought, oh my gosh, there is $1 billion business out there selling to us, the new shiny thing, when it just gets back to basics.
Yeah.
So know your numbers, red light, green light.
Yeah, have a profit and loss statement, like it's boring, it's not sexy to talk about, but like. It's a must, because that's one thing, you know, earlier I mentioned, like, we have standards and we have great teams that lead by example. We want to build profitable teams, profitable businesses, so it can be an independent business that can then ultimately build wealth for the agent. There's a lot of teams out there, as Julie said, that they look successful. You know, when you take a picture of their team and they post it on Facebook, there's 30 people and they're throwing out all these volume numbers and unit numbers. But the rainmaker is still having to sit at kitchen tables because they haven't found a way to control costs. And so they have to sell in order to make money. So I'm grateful that you brought that up because I would have missed that.
And if you can't be the person to control the costs, then you need to hire somebody that can, because like, I don't wanna look at that stuff. And literally Kelly will call me and go, what was this about? Why did you spend that? And technically it's my team, but she makes me own those decisions. And I'm like, you're right, that was stupid. She's like, well, I wouldn't do that again. Okay, and now sometimes I will literally think of the easiest thing to do is to throw money at it, and then I go, oh, I'm gonna have to explain this to Kelly.
And the other thing, I
And I
think,
don't.
I'm gonna do a misconception of teams, if I may. I think some people go, I'm not gonna join a team because all I'm gonna do is put money in Julie Hess's pocket, where I can be a single agent. When you're running a lean team and you have profit, like that, none of what you're doing is going to my pocket. It's going to the team's profit. And then with that profit, what we do is we sink it back into you for training. And so I think that's a big misconception with teams.
Yeah, I've been looking at a lot of profit and loss statements of
Yeah.
individual agents and small teams, and it is shocking.
It is.
It's shocking. Almost all of our agents on our team make more than they do in all their work.
So transparency moment. So we are not profitable at all. Like, it is dismal. And I'm grateful because it's because of the hard work that I had to do in order to get there, to be transparent, that I'm sharing it with the world. And it's enlightening because I have my husband to support. He was literally, I used to call him the Bank of Jesse. I told him, do not give us another dime, right? We're gonna be profitable. And I run it through him because he knows how to run a business. That's not my strong suit. I was looking to hire someone to be able to be that person, so I'm giving it to him. So with the help of Brittany and my husband, right, I'm going through that process. So when I hear you say that, yes. So I have a story to tell. I'm grateful for it. And I'm helping other business people like myself, because it's not necessarily that we're in debt, meaning we can't pay our bills. I'm like dismal as far as being profitable. So I was not leading with revenue because I knew I had a cash stream I could use.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I wasn't being responsible with my money.
Yeah.
So I have had Brittany and Jesse holding me accountable to that, and I'm hiring to the model. And it's just so rewarding.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to let everyone know, hey, we're not profitable here. Don't feel like, oh gosh,
Yeah, we're not here to judge. We're
you're
here to
not here
help.
to judge. Yeah.
We're here to help.
And at some point, one point I was ashamed of it, but I realized after having a conversation with other business owners, I was not alone. So I was just like, okay, good. So why don't we have a workshop about this and how we overcome it? And that's exactly what we're doing.
And think about all the people that don't know, because they don't track.
That's exactly
That's
right.
what I was gonna say. When I sat with my accountant, I'm profitable, but that's because I don't spend a lot and I was doing things wrong. But one thing that I'm with a bunch of agent friends of mine that invest a lot of money in like lead gen, I'm like the queen of owing taxes and I'm trying to get better at that. So I sat with a group of agent friends in different companies, and kind of going through what my accountant had me do. And the biggest surprise to me was that I didn't know my numbers either. But I don't think people realize when they invest in so many they have like this shiny, yeah, and they invest in all these things. At the end of the day, they don't know their numbers. I would probably say that most people are not profitable because of that. Because I was big on that too.
It's $1
If
billion
this is gonna get
industry.
me, this is gonna get me more leads, I'm gonna buy that, I'm gonna subscribe to it. So I don't do that anymore, but the knowing your numbers is such a valuable lesson that I feel like it took me
It's all the
so many years.
It's all the emotion and all the drama
Yeah.
out of it.
It
It's how
took
you
me
can
so
say,
many years
no.
to figure that out.
Well, and we don't buy leads, because I don't think they're probably good leads, but I could be wrong. But one of the things when we bring people in and they talk about, how are you gonna feed me and stuff like that, number one, we're gonna teach you to feed yourself. But yes, the people that I'm gonna feed you are really good, really important people to me. They've been referred to us. So I'm gonna make sure you have the tools, the resources, the skills and the knowledge to be successful with those folks. So I'm super motivated versus the Zillow lead that may or may not. You know what I mean? So I'm more motivated to ensure that you have all the resources that you need to grow that person and then to create your own leads out of that person. So that you continue to.
Right.
And I recommend hiring a bookkeeper right away. I don't care how small you are,
Yes.
because a bookkeeper too, they're gonna hold you accountable as well, right? They're gonna pay your bills. They're gonna say, just having that bookkeeper and having that statement, you want someone that's gonna be able to do the work necessary for you to see how ugly it is or how profitable you are, right? At least 20.
Did you hire my bookkeeper?
No, so I used one through Keller Williams.
Okay.
And so our chart of accounts now is, it looks just like the MREA book.
No, we're
I mean, I,
$100.
That's the resource. I knew
Love
last
it.
night, I'm like, there is something I wanted to put in here and I couldn't feel that was it.
That's it.
I love it. And it's so cheap,
Ben, what did you have?
so cheap.
And you do hand
Well, I
up.
thought it was interesting how you all, because I went to this too, you all had your definition of success and then it changed. So I think as much as knowing your numbers is you also have to realize what your definition of success is.
Right.
And model it around that. And then I think the profits will come, because we were very profitable and visible.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't the right value proposition, it wasn't the right my area of definition of success, so I
Right.
think that's also important, because I think that can change maybe weekly sometimes.
And
Yeah.
Julie and I, poor Julie, every year I go, should we be buying leads? And yet we look at Jenny Wallach's team. So Jenny Wallach is $1 million producer and she's got a nice small team. Maybe about all together, there's about 7 of them and never bought a lead. So if you're thinking, how do I build this business and not buy a lead? Seek somebody out and interview them and sit with them and find out what their systems are and what their lead gen looks like and what their follow-up and what's their, where do they have their clients and how are they touching them 100,
And how profitable are
and
they?
how profitable are they?
Yeah.
And find out, can I see your P and L? Like when we came over here, that's what we wanted to see. Matt, can we see your P and L? Before we move over here, I gotta make sure that you guys have a plan. And they did. They have a 10 and a 20-year plan and it took us all but 2 minutes to decide we were going from the East Shore to the West Shore.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Yeah, and so when we looked at our P and L and looked at our things and we said, well, we're gonna grow you, we're gonna help you grow your business. The thing that we decided to invest in this year is our 60 touch program through Rooted, that John Nidek, which is an extension of, coming out of Dave's team. But we decided if we know that 97% of our business is referral, and it is, then what do we need to do? We need to double down and do a better job of really rooting in that business. And so that's where we're spending our money. And it's not cheap. It's not cheap. And it kind of scares me because I've never spent that kind of money on one particular thing. But the reality is we started in November and we're already seeing opportunity. And it wasn't the best time to start it. So.
And I'll say, so 2 things from there. One is you can invest in your own database, so that way you can have those warmer leads. Like,
Right.
You do not have to call internet leads as part of your lead gen strategy. Second is, Julie, you mentioned the team that you follow.
the team that you want to model may not be in the room today, and that's okay. But you don't know what you don't know, so you have to go to regional events and you have to go to, or join these Facebook communities. That's a free option, right? Go to family reunion, go to mega camp, because that's where you find the people and you just don't know where that's gonna be. So that's why we push that connection, because proximity is everything.
Yeah.
And having that model or finding the person that you want to model is so much more helpful than trying to reinvent the wheel.
Yeah, Jenny Wally, that was family reunion, because I went to all the family reunions and the same thing with Just Star. And they're up on the page, I'm like, I think I need to reach out to her, and then I went to reach on something down and she was going up the escalator as I was going down in Washington, I'm like, whoa, Jenny, and then I came back up, can we have coffee together? But that was going to family reunion, she was up on stage.
That was Jen Davis for me when I was a buyer's
yeah.
agent, at one of those regional events that we had.
Yes. Yeah, she was a rock star buyer's agent, so I love that. Let's see here. Want to be respectful of time. What tools or systems have been most impactful for your team's success? Michelle, we could start with you.
I would say our, managing the database and doing exactly what it tells us to do as far as who to follow up with when. Our client appreciation events that we do every year consistently. And that's where we talk about, and I know I've said this before, but we tend to not have a database like this. We do, but we focus on this part of the database. We funnel it so that we're working on deeper relationships rather than wider relationships. And when we do work on the deeper relationships, we can have those client appreciation events and client events and really talk to people, and that's where the referrals then come from. So for us, it's been just keeping in touch with our core people in our database that have continued to support us year after year. And that's really where we are.
I love that, Shannon.
Yeah, and the same kind of things, and I think in terms of specific tools, I think, we have a morning huddle. And our morning huddle, one of the things we do is we have a scorecard. And that scorecard, we have all identified, again, based on our personal business plan, how many contacts do you have to have, how many listing appointments, how many buyers, blah, 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 all the way down the list. We've added things like social media posts and other things that we see as strategies to drive our business. And then every Monday, we do a deep dive on that. How'd that work? What's going on? What worked? What didn't? Are you behind? Are you ahead of your goal? And it's really helpful because then the question is always, okay, based on what you've just told me, has anything changed about what you're trying to achieve? And if the answer is no, okay, then how are we gonna get there? And it's a brainstorm among the team of what can we help you to do to be able to achieve your goals and make up for this week and achieve for next week. What can we help you with? And one of the things that we've learned is that not all of us love to make phone calls. So we're big on pop buys. We are huge on pop buys. But then also just what are the other things you can do? You know, we all know that open houses work. So do them, right? You're the queen of open houses. But what other things can we do? Our events. Right now, when we're picking our charity, we kind of had charities in mind, but instead we're doing a campaign asking people about charities because it gives them an opportunity. And then the next thing we're doing is we're making phone calls to everybody in our database. Hey, we want to let you know a really important thing we're doing this year is we're taking a percentage of our funds and giving back to a local charity. We want to tell you about it. So please think of us. If you know anybody needs buy, sell, or invest in real estate, it gives you a reason to call. So doing those kinds of things to help us.
I love that. Miss Julie?
So all of that. So I just went down to systems, like we use the EOS, the huddles in the morning, contract to close. Nobody should be doing their own files. So that's like, you know, and sometimes.
You say that again for.
Contract to close. No one should be doing their own files. We are in the lead generation business. We're in the people belly to belly, face to face. I don't, you know, I would never have time to grow the business if I'm in the business working on the file. Yeah, and plus Tammy does it better than me, so why not? Time blocking, but a lot of you know, my passion is scripting. At the end of the day, most people don't know what to say. I've been having a ball over the holidays with my family. And somebody will say something and I'll say, what makes you say that? And they go, what? Well, what makes you say that? So practice Bill Jones, and he's got it. He really does got it. So that's our big thing. A system that I feel like we put in place. The thing is like Julie would sit beside me and all of a sudden I'll be like, what did she just say? Like, oh my gosh, you sound like me. And she said, well, that's because I've sat beside you for 8 years. So on our team, that's why we like our team to be in phone, you know, lead generating together, because then we sound like each other. So then I'm confident in knowing that when I give you one of my top clients to take out, then you're gonna be asking the same questions we are, and you're gonna go 3 deep, or you're gonna show the home the way we've been showing the home. So that's really important for us, that we talk, we understand the language.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that, they
real
do
quick.
say that's a big component of culture,
Mhm,
is that you speak the same language.
mhm.
Mine's EOS. Mine's EOS. I couldn't imagine our business. I won't coach people without EOS.
Mhm.
Couldn't imagine it.
I love that. And then one final question. If you could start over, what's the thing that you would do differently?
Give up more quickly,
Mhm.
Never
just
let,
do it.
never let the foot off gas in recruiting ever.
Okay,
For my level.
so just keep looking for talent. And when you're looking for talent, you can say, I'm not hiring right now.
Mhm.
Like you can say, I don't have an open seat on the bus right now. And yet I have hired X amount of people in the last year. Chances are a seat's gonna open because life happens. So if an opportunity opens up, I might give you a call. If it makes sense for you at that time and the stars align, you can be building that bench without having an open seat. And I think that's a common misconception.
It's very true. Yeah, I think I have 3 people joining me this month, and so I wouldn't be hiring somebody, but it doesn't mean that I wasn't lead genning with Adrian this morning, because I won't for the next months. And, you know, as you say, I don't want to be that big. That's okay, for everybody, but for us to exist, to provide opportunity to other people, I have to constantly be doing that. You know, I have to constantly be providing the value proposition. So when Julie calls me and says, I want to join your team, I have a value proposition for that person.
I think if I had to do things differently, I think I would make sure that I'm aligned with the rate office. I'm aligned with the rate office.
Okay, I was, by heart, really.
Okay.
My mouth went dry.
From the beginning, no, what I mean is like I've watched Dave from afar when Dave was still the Dave Hook team. And then, but you know, I look back and I think, I love real estate. The opportunity is amazing. And this company, the opportunity is amazing. I mean, I could leave and fly down to Austin and get opportunity. You know what I mean?
Right.
So this company has it together, but not all offices have it together. So guys, you're at the right office, because I was at one for a while, like, I wish somebody would have told me, sat me down and said, hey, Julie, every year you should have a rental property. How are we gonna grow your wealth?
Yeah.
This office goes, how are you, like, that's when we hire, I'm like, how can I help you grow your wealth? I never thought about that before. So I look back at my age and go, man, I have 8 years where I was wallowing. Luckily, Dave bought over here and you came over and we all look at it. That's, yeah, it's amazing. And we're learning from you guys day in and day out. But
And saying that we don't want to be that big doesn't mean that we don't respect and
Oh,
appreciate.
no.
And-
It's just not your
yeah,
business model.
It's just not our business
And that's
model.
okay.
don't know if I could handle
Yeah.
it.
It would be a mess. I know I couldn't.
But if I had to do it all over again, I guess I'd be looking at the bigger picture. I didn't realize how much opportunity real estate does really allow people.
Right, and I think a lot of that is, you know, most of us, I don't know, most of us got in when we were younger and we didn't have that big picture. If I had to do it all over again, I would go with the mindset of, this is gonna be a business for me, I'm just not selling homes, I'm just not. So this is where I need to focus on my growth, my generational wealth, my running a business, hiring. So.
And all of it, my health, my mental, my
Yeah,
relationships, and that's what I love about this company.
Yeah.
You know, and so that would be my thing. I probably would step back and interview individual offices as well.
I would start before 46.
Yeah.
Judah, you had a question?
I was just gonna say, both of you said the same thing, and I was curious for some additional commentary. You said that you would say, I don't have a seat on my bus right now, but isn't my bus shiny and yellow? When do you have that conversation? Do you say that to people when you're like during the first interview, or do you get somebody the whole way through and you're like, okay, by the way, I would hire you, but I don't have a seat for you right now? Where does that come in?
I'm really upfront. Now, right now, I do have an open seat on the bus, so like, I can say this is what I'm looking for. And then oftentimes what happens is they'll kind of explain, and that's the director of first impressions. So everybody's kind of panicked for a second. Front desk and ANOA, we're looking for. So when I'm having conversations, if they're not the right fit, I can say, you know, this doesn't sound like it aligns with where you want to be right now and yet, and then I'll have that conversation. If I don't have an open seat, it is from the beginning. Like I was told that you're a great leader, and that you were somebody that I needed to be in contact with. I'd love to meet you. And I explained to them that whole, you know, I don't have a seat open right now, but here's our vision, this career visioning process. I'd be happy to go with it through you now. It's always upfront. I'm very upfront to long answer short.
Like we have 2 showing agents right now and somebody else asked and I'm like, we don't have an open seat there. But I do have an open seat for an agent, but not a showing agent. No, we have those seats filled and we're thrilled with who we have. It's taken a while, but that'd be the worst thing for us to bring a third person on.
Judah, I even have conversations with people that I don't actually even have a seat for yet. You know, so for sure, I think it's all transparency up front. I'm never gonna take somebody through something and say, then afterwards, oh, by the way, I don't have, right? Like they're gonna know that up front, but for sure.
Yeah, and some people find value in that career visioning process, even though they know that at the end, there's not going to be this job offer. But the value that they get in the self-awareness that they get out of that process, even if they don't join your team down the road, I can guarantee you they know somebody looking to get into real estate, like you're going to be the first person that they call. So it's just all about building
And Brittany, that's,
relationship.
you're absolutely right. Like when we get to that, what do you call it? The value, I use this word, is that the value part of it or the timeline part?
Oh,
My favorite part, the timeline, and you come down here and you use this board and they're doing their timeline. That's when they're making a decision, you're making a decision. I don't know if that's step 4.
yeah, for me it is.
Yeah, that's my favorite, because right there is when you're gonna know. And you're thinking, we're gonna hire her, she's perfect. And then we're going, oh, I don't think we are gonna. And then all of a sudden they turn around and they're like, I'm not sure this is for me, but they're so thankful.
Mhm.
And then I get joy out of knowing that I just helped them
Yeah,
realize
100%.
that real estate's not for them. And the gal that I didn't, like, she left a long-term job and right now she's in a great place and a great fit. And so it's never a waste of time.
Right, no, I agree
Yeah.
with that.
No,
And I-
no, not that, but I'm just saying, like, we've helped a couple people, like, realize it's not HGTV and maybe this isn't for me.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Michelle, did you get to that?
I think mine is just that I still need to learn to let go, but the more that you can let go and the more you can identify the stuff that somebody else can do better or equally as well. Different does not mean worse. It just means different.
Mhm.
And as long as it still aligns with your value system, I think you're good.
Mhm.
And that's a key.
Mhm.
So I'm still working on it.
I think for me, it's, just listening and observing conversation and knowing if someone might eventually be a good fit, even to the point of, you know, people come to your front door, you know, Verizon, whomever. I'll never forget, 3 years ago or so, I had a young man come to my door selling, I don't know, landscaping services. And we ended up having about a 30-minute conversation because I was intrigued about his drive
Mhm.
and just his conversation and his verbiage and his everything. And I just kind of looked, I asked, you ever consider getting into real estate? And he said, no. I said, well, here's my card. We're gonna talk later. And we've kept in communication, but just always listening for that right person who might fit. Might not have anything available now, but
But he door knocks.
Yeah, he door
I'm
knocks
Full
and he made
transparency, I don't door knock And every time they door knock, I'm like, have you ever thought about real estate? Because I have a place in your
Yeah,
you could be my
yeah.
professional door
So, I
knocker.
don't know.
There you go.
Wait staff, good wait
Yes.
staff,
Hairstylists.
yeah, those people.
Oh, anybody hospitality.
Yeah,
You
If they're
never-
It just
hospitality.
takes a lot of listening and
Yeah.
observing.
yeah, the people that show up at your favorite spot and already have your beverage and are, you know, or are we doing the usual and the whole 9 yards and asking about something that you were talking to, those people
Mhm,
higher.
mhm.
You just never know, like, whose life you could change by asking the question.
Right.
Like, you could be the one that the light bulb finally went off, like, oh my gosh, I thought about it. Like, how often do you hear that? Like, I thought about it for years, but I never really did.
Isn't that one of our best hires at a wedding?
Andrew Johnson.
I heard Jolie because she wore yellow pants. I tell that story all the time. I came up and I rejected the whole interview process. This is when I didn't understand career visioning. I went in, what did we meet for 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
She'd always come up, just wanted to say hi, I gotta go leave Jen, and I was like, I have no idea what that means.
So don't worry about it if you don't know how to do it, because that's how it went. And I went downstairs, I called her, I said, hire her. Hire her. She wore canary yellow pants to the training. Anybody can do that. I want them on my team. And didn't your husband go, I can't believe
Yeah,
you
when he
dressed
heard the
like
story,
that."
he goes, you wore yellow pants to an interview.
I ask Dave all the time why he hired me, and he tells me that I wrote him a letter, but I don't remember doing that. But then he interviewed me to be a buyer's agent, and I didn't know what it was in the interview. I didn't know what it was.
I
But I was
go,
like,
Jen, I was like embarrassed to be like, I have no idea what she is saying.
but I'll do that. I will do that.
I remember I
I
hired
do
you
that
too,
with
and I
you
said, not the
and-
other one.
I wanna be a part of what you, yeah,
Yeah, we've learned since then, but.
I love it. Well, thank you so much for sharing. Any questions from the room? Any questions from the chat?
These were good. This helped me think.
Denise, what you got?
That's good. I think you
Any
answered
takeaways?
everything
Any takeaways from the room?
about being profitable. Like, just because you might be doing so much volume, are you actually profitable? Because somebody that has a smaller team could be more profitable than somebody with a bigger team.
I think also hiring your culture, like hiring based on your culture is, I think that's very important. That's like up there, so,
and your differentiators.
absolutely.
Don't forget their spouse. Like, this was the first year we did a Christmas dinner with the spouses, and it was a great Christmas dinner. And it's like, somebody somewhere in KW said that, like, you know, meet their partner, meet their person of support, and would it be somebody that, you know, you would go out for an evening with? There's so many people you hear like at jobs that they can't stand there.
Do you guys wanna know an inside joke with Dave Hook that you can all pull on him?
Yeah.
Yes,
This is really good. This is like shut the door, Julie.
Hey, you're recording.
I'm recording.
This is good. So we've at, this is not like productive for anything except to help you like get one on Dave, on Dave. Yeah, so we were at, I think